What is going on, Elevation Nation? I am so pumped, very pumped. I say I'm pumped every time. Sam knows that. Sam's really pumped. We have an awesome dude joining Elevation Nation today, Jahaan Ansari, the co-founder and CTO of a company called Gainful. And I am so pumped to meet you, Jahaan, get more into the conversation about your story, how you built Gainful from the ground up. But more importantly, you're an entrepreneur. You're elevating every single day. I mean, look at your background. You're literally coming from Gainful headquarters. So we just can't wait to get into an awesome conversation with you. Dude, welcome to Elevation Nation.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
I'm so excited for this. It's going to be a really fun conversation. Again, the coolest part about a podcast that I think is sometimes lost on society in today's day and age, and I know this is hard for all of us, is you're working all day. You're in multiple conversations. You got texts going on your phone, emails coming in. We're all trying to kind of multitask. And I think sometimes the art of meeting someone new and like actually getting to know them as a human being is a little bit lost on us. And Parker and I felt this a ton during COVID when we weren't going anywhere. You're stuck in your apartments all day. And this has been such an amazing way for us to really meet cool, impactful people and share their story with the world. And so honored that you gave us a little bit of time, Jahaan. Excited to get to know you. And thanks for coming to us live from Gainful HQ. I wish we were there in person hanging out.
I just want to say, Jahaan, like Elevation Nation, you don't know. You would never know. But Jahaan literally has his camera on one of his protein powder boxes right now. But we'll get it all into that, what that means. And, I guess we'll just start. Jahaan, like, it is Elevation Nation, right? We got to hear an elevator pitch. Who are you?
All right, let's do it. So I'm the founder of Gainful, and Gainful makes personalized supplements tailored to your individual needs. And if you go on our website, you take a short quiz, you answer any questions about your body type, your fitness goals, your dietary restrictions, and we tailor not only your protein blend and pre-workout blend, but the entire suite of products for you to feel your best every day, get the most out of your workout. And in addition to that, we also give you support through registered dietitians who can answer any questions about your nutrition or your fitness and help you along the way and to reach your unique and individual goals.
Beautiful pitch for a really impactful business. And I know, you and your co-founder, Eric, you guys met in college or came up with this idea in college and started to work through it. And the beautiful part about that is there's a lot of similarities between Parker and my story of being friends in college, going, there's got to be something out there that I can put my passion into. What can we do? What problem can we solve? And, I learned a little bit of background of how Eric kind of came up with the problem. And at first he sent you a long email for just help with the web page and then turned it into you being CTO. So I guess I wanted to just ask you, in starting a business in something, I guess, pretty niche of coming up with supplements and fitness in the nutrition world, did you have a huge passion for that beforehand? Was it something you were trying to learn more about? Or were you like, I don't really care what I'm doing. I want to be on the tech side of it. We could be selling cars for all I care. How did you kind of adapt to fall in love with this space?
No, it's always been a huge part of my life, fitness and nutrition. Eric and I were co-captains on our high school soccer team. We've known each other since ninth grade. And since we were always athletes, but never, at the varsity of, UC Berkeley level, we were always at the club level playing soccer or high school level. We wanted to get the most out of our workouts and most out of our nutrition, but we didn't have the dietitians or nutritionists to help us guide us along the way, right? So we would walk into a GNC and we would think, okay, so we should have protein powder, right? And then you would walk into this GNC and see all of these tubs of indistinguishable protein powders with long ingredient labels and not really know what you should be putting in your body, or, even worse, is this going to hurt me, right? And so that feeling of, okay, there's got to be a broader market need here where people have the same feeling that we have, that maybe protein powder and GNC experience in particular it doesn't feel like it's for me. So we wanted to create a brand, a nutrition brand that's for everyone and is approachable in a way that is tailored to different people. And we figured the best way to do that is to ask people easy questions that they know about themselves. Do you want to gain weight? Do you want to lose weight? What are dietary restrictions? And in that way, we'll be able to tailor exactly what you need into each of your personalized blends.
That hits it home, man. I mean, I walk into a GNC and I am like, what the hell is happening? It's, the paradox of choice at the ultimate level. Because to your point, I look around and I'm like, first of all, the colors on these things are crazy. I'm like, all right, I'm attracted to this one and this one. And then all of a sudden I'm like, what is it? Like, what makes it different? At the end of the day, if it's a protein powder, it's protein, right? I mean, like, different forms of protein. So I'm just sitting there and I'm like, man, this is so difficult. And I appreciate so much what you guys are doing at Gainful, because I'm someone who's allergic to whey protein. And I can't tell you how many times I go in and try to find a protein, and it's just like, where's my option? Maybe there's more options now, but I've been on your website. You have the questions. What are you allergic to? And then you guys have proteins that work for my, dietary restrictions, which is amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's one of the biggest levers, is making sure that what you're putting in your body is you're not allergic to, it's not going to hurt you. And a lot of people have had adverse reactions. They feel bloated, right? And so when we ask questions and try to really nail down each of the individual's problems that they're facing, we can find a solution for them.
I think that's so important as young adults get from kind of the college era of, sorry, mom, if you're listening, chugging beers and eating Chipotle every night, right? And into being a young adult and realizing, like, shit, I can't do that anymore. I have my body to take care of. I have to be up early and be sharp for work and after school or after work activities and things like that. And so, we talk a lot about mental fortitude and Elevation Nation being for young adults. And I think back to the time when I started to realize that I needed to make nutrition not just like throwing food in my mouth, but an actual part of my life. And John, I'll tell you a quick story. So I have a buddy, he's a professional athlete, plays in the NBA. And I remember when he first got drafted, he was talking to me about all the different protocol that they make you go through in the NBA draft. And when he got drafted to this team, first thing they had him do was come in, blood test, and he found like 32 foods, not that he was allergic to, but that just weren't for his peak performance. And he's like, yeah, I can't eat asparagus anymore. I was like, what do you mean you can't eat asparagus? Like, asparagus is a good vegetable. And he's like,
wait, what?
I don't know, man. They like took my blood
this.
and they said, like, I can't eat asparagus anymore. And so to have that level of detail in terms of a nutritionist that knows the 32 foods that some reason your blood type and your body, it doesn't sit well with, and then they come up with meal plans. It's like, why in today's day and age, when we have all the technology, AI, and can put a man on the moon, can everyday normal humans not get their peak performance? Like, you shouldn't have to be an NBA player to feel good every day.
Absolutely. And, what we want to do at Gainful is bring that elite level nutrition to the masses. We have science advisors from the 76ers, the Golden State Warriors, and the Sacramento Kings from their nutrition departments, and they've helped us tailor each of these blends and ask the right questions so that we can really hone in on what is best for each individual.
First of all, I also got to say, your website is unreal. It's well done, and Sam is the website guru here. I mean, that's what he does for a living. And I mean, I was looking at it, I'm like, dude, I sent this to Sam, and it's really easy to use. And I think that's so important, especially when you're trying to get personalized things here and there. But I got another question. Like, I imagine the supplement industry is so crowded. There's so many different companies trying to get into it. Like, how do you guys, like, I know you're trying to personalize everything, but like, as a startup, like, how has it been a challenge? Like, how have you overcome that challenge of separating yourself?
Yeah, so there's four key tenets that we hit on. We're easy, we're effective, we're personal, and we're supportive. And my favorite part of that is that when you make your purchase, usually for most other companies, that's where the journey ends. You've made your purchase, you're done. For us, that's where it starts. Our relationship starts with our customers when they make that purchase, and they're signing up for, of course, it's just one shipment at first, but hopefully what will be a long, many years kind of engagement with their registered dietitians, with the tools that we provide, so that they can continue to make progress towards their goals. Because we all know intuitively that 1 month of eating clean and working out, you're not going to really feel that difference. It has to come over a long period of time. And that's one of the reasons why we only offer our products as a subscription, is because there's no reason for us to get this once and then be done and say we've done our job. It's an ongoing, lifelong journey that each of our customers are going on.
And I read a post that you guys surpassed fulfilling over 1 million orders 5 months ago. So I can't imagine what you're at now.
We're well over 1 million now, but yeah, that was a very fun, milestone. The entire team celebrated. Our 3PL made it really special by packing up the 1,000th order slowly and having the entire logistics center, clap as you walk the 1,000th order down to the mail truck. It was a really special moment for me as the founder to see all 1 million orders go out, and it's a bit surreal, to be honest with you. But that's just a start, and the next 1 million hopefully will come even quicker, and we can go to 10 million and beyond after that.
So I want to talk for a second about that milestone, because that's a huge one. And I think the cool thing about all entrepreneurs is obviously you guys are at a much larger scale than Parker and I and Elevation Nation. And in terms of revenue and customers, we are looking up to you as a big brother here and where we want to go. But I get your sense of pride as a fellow entrepreneur. And to go from, I love the story of Eric just sent you an email needing a web page, right? Came up with a problem, to then having 1 million orders. I want to ask you both the positive side. I'm sure that felt great, but as a guy who left school, took a big risk, decided to start something, I'm sure went through struggles, which we'll get into, and then all of a sudden hit a huge milestone of success. Was there any part of you that was like, damn, maybe this didn't feel as sweet as it was supposed to, or I don't know what's next after this. Like, I never thought I'd get this far. Did you have any of that?
So I've always said, and this realization came to me a few years ago, I was whipping cream by hand. And I don't know if you've heard of whipped cream by hand before, but I would suggest using a mixer because it's pretty arduous. But
wait, whipping cream by hand to do what?
To make whipped cream. I had heavy whipping cream, right? And I wanted hot cocoa. And it was like the week after Thanksgiving, I had some heavy whipping cream and some sugar. So I put it all together and started whisking it. And for the first, 5-10 minutes, it really feels silly what you're doing, because you're just whisking this liquid and nothing's happening. And then some point, I don't know if it was 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, it felt like forever to me. At some point, all of a sudden, it just solidifies and all of that whipping pays off. And to me, that feels kind of like starting a company, right? At the very early days, you're a little bit concerned about what you're doing, if it's actually making a difference. And then there's some points along that kind of trajectory where you finally hit it, and you can really look back and be like, wow, we really did that.
That's such a good analogy. I've never heard any, like, it makes perfect sense in my mind because I've done that before. I know exactly what you mean. And I've, talked about entrepreneurship and Parker and our journey with Elevation Nation. And you're so spot on, where it's like, we started our first month. Our biggest accomplishment was like, we got business cards. We were so hyped. We got business cards. That was like, that took us forever. And then we built a website, and then we launched. Then we had 100 guests. Then we got paid to speak. So it's like, you have these little things where it's a little bit more solid. And it's funny. I think maybe I'm just hard on myself, but even once we hit those solid points, I'm like, this kind of feels like liquid. Like, we only have one person that paid us to speak so far. Like, why don't we have 100, right? Like, do you still kind of have that of, yeah, I packed 1 million, but like, damn, there's so much more to do.
Absolutely. I mean, so when we were first starting Gainful, Eric and I were just chatting to each other, and we were like, wouldn't it be amazing if we did $100,000 in revenue just ever? Like, that would be so incredible.
Wow.
And we made the deal is that if we ever hit $100,000 in revenue, we would go out and we would buy matching tracksuits just because. that was the deal. After a lot of hard work, finally, buying all the product and finding the customers and figuring out how do we present this to the customers. Of course, eventually we hit that 100,000 milestone. And another fun little fact, like a few months ago, we had our first $100,000 in one day. So that was fun. But once we hit that 100,000, so much work went into it, kind of just forgot about the jumpsuits. And it was like, okay, how do we get to 1 million now? Right. And it's that obsessive, or just very, I can't think of a better word than obsessive, but desire just to continue to build, to always look for the
Well,
next
Jahaan,
milestone.
we're going to call that elevating, my friend. That's
Oh, I love
exactly
it.
what it is, and that's why
Just
it's so
keep elevating,
beautiful.
baby.
We have these people here, and it's sometimes tough for us to put our finger on it for folks that don't get it. But for folks that come into Elevation Nation and have this elevator mindset, to your point, it's hard to describe, but and it's a reason why I can tell you're lighting up, like Parker's lighting up, I'm lighting up, because when you talk to someone who just gets it, where it's like, I always have a little bit more to do. I always have another target that I want to reach. I always want to make myself and the world a better place. You just have an elevator mindset and you get that mentality. I will say though, we're going to have to talk to Eric. I know he doesn't know us yet, but I think we do need those jumpsuits at some point. We're going to need a picture in those.
I agree. I 100% agree. Totally.
I mean, I'm looking on your website, like the front page right now, and Jahaan, you're like not just elevating yourself. Like literally, your website says elevate your performance with personalized nutrition. You're elevating, to your point. I mean, if you've fulfilled well over 1 million packages, you're elevating other people, millions of people, I guess.
That's a great point. Yeah. I mean, a big part of Gainful's mission is to make people continue to find their stride and stay in their stride. And the thing about like being in your stride is I used to be a runner in high school. It's just like this, when you feel good, when you have that second win and you just feel like you can go forever, right? And you feel like you can keep going faster. And it's like, we want to give our customers that feeling that they're in their stride, right? It's difficult to articulate, but when you have that feeling, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I felt that this morning. So I told you I'm starting the training for the marathon, and I did a tempo run this morning. So I started, it was a 6 mile run. It was 2 miles at a slow pace, and then 2 miles at like a much higher pace. First mile was hard as shit. Second mile, I'm like, I was just locked in, one step forward, in my stride. Next thing you know, the run's done, and I couldn't agree with you more. Obviously got a lot more runs to go before the New York Marathon, but where obviously I'm going to have to really figure out my nutrition. And so that's why I'm also really excited to talk to you, because that is something that is new to me. It's like, how do I put the right things in my body to make my performance that much better? I ran a marathon 2 years ago and I could have been better. And that's why it's so amazing what you guys are doing, because you're helping the guy like me who knows nothing really at all. So I really do appreciate that so much.
Awesome.
I want to throw it back, the story, not maybe of Gainful, but the story of Jahaan. Like, were you always an entrepreneurial type of guy? Were you growing up, walking around, going to, your parents or friends, being like, I got this idea, I got this thing? Or was it kind of something you found later in your life?
That's a great question. And I never labeled myself as an entrepreneur. That wasn't something that was obvious to me. But looking back, there's a couple of examples of like an entrepreneur spirit from a young age. When I was maybe 6, 7, or 8 years old, around that time frame. This was back when recycling wasn't as big, right? And so where we lived is you could take the cans to the recycling and get 5 cents per person. So we went around to our neighborhood. We created a company called Cans R Us. It was me and my sister. And we would collect the cans every Sunday, take them to the recycling. We probably made, I don't know, $4 a week. But to us, it was amazing, right? That was the very first step of this elevator, or whatever. The very first floor of the elevator is the $4 a week from cans. So I guess that part has always been, a part of me. But growing up, I always wanted to be an engineer. I was good at math and science from a young age, and it was either a doctor or engineer, and I couldn't stand the sight of blood, so I always wanted to be an engineer. So I went to school to be a chemical engineer, then also picked up computer science along the way. I fell in love with a few of the programming classes that they had me take as a chemical engineer, and decided to add that as well. And then, that was the trajectory. It was to become either a computer engineer or chemical engineer. And it wasn't until, honestly, Eric kind of reinvigorated that part of my DNA that I honestly forgot I had, that I thought, wow, this is amazingly fun. Like, to build something for yourself and to just have all this opportunity in front of you. I couldn't imagine having a different job.
I wanted to ask you, as other entrepreneurs, but ones who did take this full-time path, at least for now, what was that like, going a little bit against the grain compared to some of your friends? Obviously, the American dream for many parents is to have their kids go get a great degree from schools that all of us went to, and then go and get a very safe corporate job where you can climb the ladder, raise a family, and be, quote unquote, successful in the American dream. So was entrepreneurship in your family? Was taking this risk frowned upon? How did you kind of deal with those early years?
Yeah, so my dad immigrated from Iran to the US when he was a teenager and did exactly what you just described. Lived out the American dream, got a degree, worked really hard, and I'm so tremendously proud of him you know, to see where he's gotten today. Not only in his career, but also himself and his happiness. It's really kind of a beautiful thing. And I'm also very proud of my mom as well. Um, and so that was always the plan for me. It was to do something similar, right? And so I remember calling my dad for the first time, and I still had 2 semesters left of college when I wanted to take this leap. And I had a really great internship lined up for the summer. Like, they were, paying for all my transportation, for my housing, great salary for, Silicon Valley software engineer. It was going to be an amazing summer, right? And then Eric called me with this idea, and of course, such an exciting opportunity. I fiddled with or I weighed my options, right? But when I finally made my decision, I called my dad and told him, "Hey, I'm doing this." And it would definitely came as a surprise. And I do remember, given the fact that I had 2 semesters left, he said, "Okay, you can do it, but you have to guarantee me that you're going to get your degree, because that's something that's really meaningful to me." And I made sure to keep true on my promise. So for the first year, I was starting Gainful as well as finishing my last 2 semesters at Berkeley. So that was a bit of a balance and a struggle. GPA maybe took a slight dive. Nothing I couldn't recover from. But yeah, that was the first year of Gainful.
First year game. Okay, so then you graduated, right? Yes, no?
That's right. Yep.
Okay, I
Graduated.
know some entrepreneurs like, my idea is so good, I don't need to graduate. I'm going right in. Mark Zuckerberg, right? And honestly, a lot of other people, I think. So you graduate and
hmm
you just threw yourself right into Gainful, or were there other things that kind of pulled you away?
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say I threw myself right into Gainful in that last year of college. I was doing Gainful full time and kind of college on the side, and just trying to make sure I got those B's
Okay,
that
gotcha.
would allow me to get to graduation.
But you're like 20,
So
you're like, how old are you? 21, 22 years old. Like, you're
yeah,
making this
yeah,
big decision, going all in. Like, that's got to be so crazy, because you're like a young person. You're like, I'm going after it. And you kind of don't know what you don't know. But then
absolutely.
there's the other side. It's like the fear. It's like, oh my God, holy shit, I'm doing this.
Yeah, I've always thought about the advantage of naivete, and how, if I knew what I knew now, I don't know if I would have been as successful, right? And that means, like, we're three of us are living in a one-bedroom apartment. People are sleeping on the floor. We're having corn dogs for dinner every night. Like, it's things that you can only do when you're 21 or 22 years old. Where I look back and be like, I'm glad I did that then. I'm glad I made that leap then, because I could do it, right? So yeah.
No, I mean, that's so funny, because like, my next thought was, would you do it over again, looking back?
I would do it over again. Less corn dogs. I would make sure everyone has a bed, but I would
Okay,
absolutely do it
I
over
like
again.
that. I like that. Oh my God, so
Sleep
you
is
guys are
important.
literally sleeping on the floor.
Sleep is
Literally
important.
sleeping on the floor. Sleep is important, but yeah. So, like, we didn't, we can only afford a $1,200 apartment. So then there's three of
Oh
us,
my gosh.
and we weren't paying each other anyone's salaries. We had so the very first accelerator we got into was in Cincinnati. It was called the Brandery, and they gave us a $50,000 check. They took a percentage of the company, similar to all these other accelerators, including YC, which we would do later. Um, but so we had $50,000, and we wanted to make that last, hopefully, forever. So we were as frugal as possible, and tried to save every single dollar. Whenever there was some kind of party with a dinner, we made sure we went. We made sure we stayed until there was leftovers, and we took that home. So doing every little thing to save a little bit of money. I remember one of our other co-founders, Jeffrey, slash first employees, he bought like a soft pretzel for like $7 or something, and he was like, why did I just do that? Like, we cannot afford this. But yeah, those times are past. Now we can afford soft pretzels, thankfully.
There we go. Soft pretzels galore at headquarters.
I love that.
That's
great.
a snack of choice now. You guys have one of those little like pretzel boxes, keeping them warm at all times.
That's a great idea. We should get those. Get one of
I
those.
love it. It's Parker alluded to this, and I think it's impressive all the risks you can take as a young person. And you mentioned naivety and not really knowing what's next. I've been working on this my whole life and working through therapy on this, which being an elevator is to my core, as is it with you and Parker. And I think we all kind of have this little like voice inside of our head that, sure, we go through self-doubt, but like in the back of your head, you're like, I'm going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. We're going to elevate. We're going to get a little bit better. And one of my biggest fears in life is plateauing. The opposite of being an elevator, just reaching the top floor and never being able to improve anymore. But I think what drives all of us at our core is the fact that we have faith that we know we're going to be able to improve. And maybe one day it's not gainful, right? Like maybe one day it's with your family or with your personal fitness or whatever that next goal is. But I think being in that constant pursuit of getting a little bit better and elevating and having faith that we have that is something special that I'm very grateful. I tell Parker all the time, it's a blessing and a curse that we have to deal with this of always wanting more and never really being satisfied.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of having faith in yourself, I think confidence is the most effective performance enhancing drug in any area of life, right? If you feel confident in yourself, you can do anything, whether that's, building a company or, I don't know, asking a girl out, something crazy. Then if you're confident, right, you might wiggle along the way, you might go down, you might have to start over, start again. But, if you have that genuine confidence, you'll always get there, like you said.
What do you do when you feel like you lose that confidence? Because I believe it ebbs and flows.
Right. So I think there's different sources of confidence. And my goal in life is a couple examples of sources of confidence. Naivete is one of them. If you're naive, you feel like you can own the world, right? It's not the most effective source. Another source of confidence is experience, kind of the opposite. More effective, right? You have experience under the belt. You've done this before. You can do it again. I think the most important and powerful source of confidence is like an inner peace with yourself and like just an acceptance of yourself. And your strengths, your weaknesses. And so my goal is to make sure that all my confidence, as much as I can, comes from that source of like inner peace and kind of understanding myself and learning more about myself so that it won't wane in the way that it can wane from different sources.
It makes perfect sense. Sorry, I was coming off mute there. I think finding that inner confidence, just to empathize a little bit with some of the young people listening to this podcast, it's okay if you don't have that right now. Absolutely. I think the lesson here is take some time to get to know yourself so that you can start to develop that self-confidence. And self-confidence, to your point, Jahaan, is not being good at everything. Self-confidence is knowing when you need to lean on others and take a step back and search for answers and maybe admit wrongdoings. That, I think, is the most important part of having that self-confidence. And don't mistake self-confidence for being cocky, right? I think we all have worked with that guy or girl who comes in and I think back to like the group projects when one person would just do everything and it wouldn't even be a good job or wouldn't ask for help. And don't be that person. So take time to figure out who you are at your core. And it relates perfectly to this concept, John, that we have called mental fortitude, which is what Parker and I believe is the missing piece that young people don't have and why so many people come out of college and feel lost, like they don't know how to conquer the real world. And so what we've done here at Elevation Nation and the core to our speaking gigs and our coaching and our workbooks that we offer to Elevation Nation is this concept of mental fortitude. And we break it down into 3 parts. It's knowing who you are at your core, the vision of where you want to go, and what fuels you and what drives you. Everybody's a little bit different in terms of what they actually truly care about. And so taking time, I think, in your late teens and early 20s to figure out how mental fortitude works with you goes hand in hand with your point on self-confidence being so important, because once you know who you are, where you're going to go, and what truly inspires you to get up every day, you're going to be so confident in the person that you are meant to be.
Absolutely. And at Gainful, we want to redefine what the word gains means, right? It's always been owned by this idea of some kind of super strong dude in the gym that only goes to the gym, that's all he does, right? And there's so many other things to gain in life. One of those things is confidence, right? And so at Gainful, we want to give people the power and empower them to make their own gain, whatever that is. Is it gaining confidence? Is it gaining joy? Is it gaining strength? Is it gaining more years on your life so you can spend more time with your family? There's so many things to gain, and a lot of it is something you don't see in the mirror, right? And so that's what we're trying to do at Gainful and what we're trying to give to our customers.
Dude, that was awesome. Because I just, damn, the way you like put that together, like I respect the hell out of you, Jahaan. Like the way you carry yourself, the way you speak about what you guys are doing with Gainful, but even beyond that, because the most important muscle in our body is up here. I think anyone can, or maybe people don't think that or agree with me on that one, but I think that the brain, the mind, is the most important muscle that we need to continue to work on. And I hope that, through our conversations in Elevation Nation, Elevation Nation, you're sitting at home, you're listening to this, like, it's okay to take a step back, have some conversations with yourself, find ways that work for you to work on your mind, and obviously get to the gym and, get big as well, or not big, fit, whatever you want to put it. All right.
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want. Whatever makes sense in your world. We got some rapid fire questions for you.
Right,
a couple here. They're kind of fun. I like this one. We try to tailor them. What is your favorite or one of your favorite biohacks?
Oh man, I'm being honest with you, Parker. Does just using Gainful every day count?
Fair. All right,
we'll allow that plug.
All right,
I think you earned it.
Plug one of your one of your cool, items that you guys offer.
So just our personalized protein powder with flavor sticks. I change the flavor every day, never get bored. I probably had a protein shake every day for the last 2,000 days. So that's saying something.
I love it. And all right, so speaking of flavors, I'm a big foodie. I love talking different types of flavors and cuisines. So looking ahead, I don't know if you can tell us, but any sneak peeks of new flavors coming down the pipe in the R&D world? Anything that's kind of intriguing that maybe from your recent travels you guys were like, that would be such a fun new flavor to introduce?
One of the questions we always ask new hires is which flavor do you want next? So we have a lot on the docket.
I'm sure.
The latest suggestion was from one of our employees from France. He suggested brie cheese. I can guarantee you it will not be that one.
Okay, got it. Noted. I think that's probably for the best.
I'm like, what? How does that even taste? Like, how do you even put that in a powder?
I don't know, but he loves cheese, and you can't blame him. Cheese is good.
Cheese is
All
good.
right, so on extension of that, was there any powder that you guys actually created where you were just like, nah, like this flavor is off?
Oh my goodness, yes, absolutely. We do taste testings in the office all the time, and there are some duds. There are some really bad ones. Thankfully, we do it, so you guys don't have to.
Yeah, fair
there
enough.
have been some baby barf tasting. Like we're supposed to put notes, and like one of them just tasted like baby barf. I don't know where I got that idea from. I've never, but we can just.
That's so funny. No, I'm sure you guys just you
barf,
have to test it, right? You got to test
Yeah,
everything.
of
You got to try new things.
course,
I mean,
absolutely.
you're the engineer here, so you're literally taking, I don't even know, and coming up with some crazy tasting things.
But I will also tease this a little bit. Our last product is an entirely new product line, and usually on the first one, it's all the duds. It's the baby barf tasting ones that taste like dirt, whatever. This first one, man, they hit it out of the park, and we're already there. So it's going to be a brand new product line. The very first taste test was a 9.9 out of 10. We're going to get that to a 10, and then we're going to launch it pretty soon.
I'm excited. I'll be on the lookout. You let me know next time I'm in New York, you need another pair of taste buds. You know who to call. We would be happy to provide
Perfect.
some feedback.
I love it. Free volunteer? Is this free?
Of course it's free. You kidding me? Like to hang out with you and try
Hell
flavors?
yeah.
All day,
yeah.
man.
Amazing.
All day.
You're hired.
All right. We got two more for you. I'll go first,
Okay.
and then Sam's got the other, and then we'll hit our last section. Your day's not going good. You wake up, you didn't get a lot of sleep, you are feeling a little off. What is the one thing that you do to get your day back on track?
Yeah, so I would say that the last thing that you should do is try to go through the motions and make it work, right? If you're feeling tired, I think you should take a nap, and you should only work and try to be your best when you're feeling inspired, right? And on the flip side is if you're feeling inspired and it's a Sunday at 2 p.m., you don't usually work at this time, well, you should take advantage of that as well. So I'm a big proponent of making sure you're feeling at your best before you try to do anything. And for me, like that's a big part of my life. Like I mentioned, is like physical fitness and just going to the gym every day. For me, that's like the prerequisite to doing my best. And when you're being active and taking care of your body, you're a better coworker, you're a better friend, you're a better person in general. So making sure you take care of those physical features first will allow you to excel in every other part of life.
It's beautiful. It's important to take care of yourself. Absolutely. And it's funny. Today I woke up with a crazy migraine and I was like, how am I going to get through a work day and be productive? And when you're not at your 100%, like it shows in your work. Like I was missing things
Absolutely.
up on work. And so take care of your nutrition, take care of your sleep, take care of your health, and come with your full self every day. Love it. All right. Our last rapid fire, Jahaan, for you. Parker and I, we love to read. Parker likes real books. I'm a Kindle guy. We'll spare you the details of that big heated debate in Elevation Nation. But we want to ask you, do you have a book recommendation, a favorite book to share with us in Elevation Nation?
The book I'm reading right now, I think it's having a bit of a moment, so you've probably heard of it before. It's a fiction book called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Just really enjoyed it. Also, it's kind of like has an entrepreneurial aspect to it. It's about a group of friends that start a video game company. I'm like 7/8 of the way done, so I'm not completely done yet, but
Cool.
so far it's been amazing.
Okay. Add it to the list.
I'm definitely
Yeah.
adding it to the list. That sounds great.
It's really good.
That's awesome.
I haven't read a fiction book in a long time. It's
You gotta
unfortunate.
mix it up, man.
I really do.
Fiction is nice.
The
too.
last one I read was Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and I was like, this was lovely. Like, what a change of
Yeah.
pace. Like,
Absolutely. I think there's value in life to kind of diversifying whatever it is, right? And if it's fiction to nonfiction, I think it adds to the effect of nonfiction.
yeah,
If
I
you read
agree.
fiction as well.
Yeah, my family makes fun of me because they're like, you never get lost in just a book. Like, you never read a book to escape. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, you only read nonfiction. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And they're like, you only read self-help books. I'm like, no, I read stories about real things that have happened in the world. And I think it's inspiring and cool and amazing. And I learn from it. And yes, you throw in a self-help book right here, and all self-help books are, honestly, a lot of them are shit anyway. So you get over that. That's funny. But Jahaan, we're coming up on the end of the podcast, and I mentioned it to you before we started. We ask every elevator this one question. It's an important question because Sam and I live by a mental motto. Elevation Nation, all the elevators in the nation live by their mental motto, a slogan, a phrase that they live their life by. So we're curious, Jahaan, what's your mental motto?
So a phrase that I live by, and it comes from, let me just give it to you. Let me give it to you straight. The phrase that I live by is, you can't always be right, but you can always be justified. And so what that means to me, it actually came to me, I'm a big chess player. It came to me when playing chess. And if you've ever played chess before, it's pretty remarkable how complicated it is. Like, obviously everyone knows chess is complicated. And so every move you make, you want to be right, but there's no way you're going to go through an entire game being right every single move. But what you can do is you can be justified in every single move. That means you've thought about what the opponents could reply with, and you didn't move too hastily, and you didn't think about all the potential options, right? And so in life, I think we shouldn't be as obsessed with trying to be right every single time, but we should make moves and do things that we feel justified in doing, that we can justify not only to our peers, but most importantly, justify to yourself.
The most amazing part of hearing everyone's mental mottos is, even though we've only hung out for an hour, I feel like I've known you for a long time at this point, is you can tell part of their story weaved into that. And I go back to when we were talking about self-confidence, right? Self-confidence, you're going to fall on your face a lot of the time. But if you feel justified, like you've prepped enough, like you think this is the right decision for you and your morals and at your core, then go forward. And I think it's a beautiful mental motto. Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you for sharing that with Elevation Nation. And it's certainly one that I'm glad you live your life by. And I know many in Elevation Nation are going to want to start to adopt as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. This has been an amazing conversation. Love learning a little bit about your guys's, and love sharing a little bit about myself as well.
Dude, we've done a lot of these, and I just am so grateful that you were able to, we find a time for us to hang out. I know we first got connected months and months and months ago, and I think I told you, I said, when you're ready, when we're here, we're going. Elevation Nation's not stopping, but I'm so thankful that we were able to find some time to just have a conversation, put the phone down, put everything else aside, and just talk about life. And honestly, I learned so much just from hearing from your story and your wisdom. And it's really inspirational to look what you've done with Gainful. And, I look behind you, like you're running an awesome company. You're making so many moves in the world, and you're elevating. And I look up to you in that regard. So I just want to say thank you, Jahaan.
Appreciate the kind words, Parker, and likewise to you. A lot of kudos to the success you guys have had, and looking forward to you guys continuing past that 250 episode all the way to 1,000.
We're getting
and
there.
Beyond.
Thank you, brother. Elevation Nation, much love. Until next week, peace.
All right.
Jahaan, thank you.